You read that right. Project Zomboid is the best zombie game ever made. It's that game that I feel like everybody wants, but most people don't know about. So let's start with a quick description. Project Zomboid is an open-ended isometric zombie survival sandbox simulator. And that's a goddamn mouthful, isn't it? I don't even want to tell you how many takes it took me to say that right. The keywords in that sentence are zombie survival and simulator. I feel like the best way to describe the concept of the game would be to ask a simple question. What would you do tomorrow if a zombie apocalypse were to break out? Would you drive deep into the woods and try to live off the land in a cabin? Would you live the nomadic life, scavenging and dodging hordes as you travel from town to town? Or would you rather just board up the windows to your favorite bar and then pound some whiskey until the dead inevitably come and break down the door? These are all things you can do in Project Zomboid. You simply spawn into a town of your choosing, and then you're left to your own devices. However, like the loading screen says, this is the story of how you died, so I wouldn't get too comfortable. There's no one coming to save you and no end to the virus in sight. The only equivalent to a scoring system you might find is seeing just how long you can survive, and maybe seeing how many zombies you can kill along the way. I personally only last a couple of in-game months before I make some stupid decision and take a bite on one of my extremities, but I've seen some people last up to a couple of years with some dedication. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little upsetting to know that I would die like 2 months into an apocalypse scenario. I certainly wouldn't be like the people on The Walking Dead, lasting 10 years. No, I'd trip on like a fucking tree stump and alert all the zombies within a 3-mile radius of my presence and promptly get eaten on like day 35, and I'd feel really embarrassed about it the whole time. I wouldn't even be screaming, I'd be going like, oh god, please, no. This is so fucking embarrassing. This game is nothing like its competitors. Left 4 Dead, Dying Light, Dead Rising, and even Dead Island if you're an OG, all have vastly different and kind of arcadey vibes in comparison. The only game that comes close in concept and execution is 7 Days to Die, and even that isn't exactly comparable. The typical early game progression curve you'll encounter is scavenging for food and weapons, then maybe finding a vehicle and a steady supply of gas, and then maybe picking up some building materials to board up the windows of your chosen safe house. Once you survive your first week, probably with a few near-death experiences, you start to look at things a bit differently. You have to start considering sustainability. You gotta start thinking to yourself, I better start collecting water. I gotta find some rain barrels. And fuck, I'm gonna need electricity. I gotta find a generator. The pipes and the electricity are gonna shut off sometime in the next 3 months. It might be a week, it might be 3 weeks. You don't know, so you gotta get prepared. That's the true beauty of this game, the problem solving and planning for the future that's required of you. However, once you get to the late game and you're fully self-sustaining, things start to become more open-ended again. Maybe you'll want to connect all the houses in your neighborhood and make some giant suburban fortress with your carpentry skills. Maybe you want to collect all the cars you can find and start restoring them like some crazed apocalyptic mechanic. Or maybe you want to challenge yourself and travel off to one of the cities you didn't spawn in that are probably now absolutely infested with zombies and build a secondary base there. There's just so many things to do in this game, dude. I've been playing it for like, I don't know, 10 years now, and I still try to get a run in every few months when I get the itch. Why'd I say it like that? And trust me, keeping my attention that long is no easy task. Just ask my therapist. Part of that feat can be attributed to the robust menus they have for customizing your experience. When they say this game is a sandbox, my god, they are not kidding. You can change how the zombies behave, how much loot you'll find, the rate of infection, the time of year, the weather, the condition of the vehicles, and like a dozen other things too. And if all that still isn't enough for spoiled little you, There's also a highly active modding scene. So what, you're bored of the weapons? Here's 100 more. Well, you're bored of the map? Here's 3 more cities. You're pretty much guaranteed to never run out of content. So now that I've got you absolutely drooling, I bet you want to see some gameplay. So how about I walk you through one of my typical runs? Let's go. Come on! Oh, and by the way, if you want to have the same experience you're going to see me have, you gotta enable the game's beta branch in the Steam settings, so come on! So, Zomboid used to have a gut-wrenching tutorial where you had to take care of your infected wife in her final days, but unfortunately that's been removed for the time being. That means your tutorial is gonna be watching me goofing around and fucking things up for a few minutes, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. For this run, I basically decided to meticulously and accurately recreate myself using the game's trait system, as you can see here, if you were to just cross out these 3. After choosing your strengths and weaknesses, you get to choose your character's appearance, and unfortunately I can't quite make this guy look as handsome as I do, so we'll just have to settle for this. After a brief loading screen, you're now thrown into a random house in the town of your choosing. I went with Muldrow for a bit of a challenge because it has one of the more dense zombie populations in the game. As far as I know, the house you spawn in is guaranteed to be zombie free, which means I generally quickly and recklessly scrambled to find a backpack of some kind, fill said backpack with enough food to last me a few days of scavenging, and then I watched TV. I bet you thought I was gonna say I find a weapon, but no. You gotta watch Life and Living TV, which airs on a very strict schedule because it gives you quality experience to level up your skills, which normally take forever to progress on their own. I personally love this system because it creates hilarious situations where you're scrambling around town and weaving your way through hordes, while also occasionally sprinting into random people's living rooms to watch the Food Network for a few minutes. Gotta get that diners, drive-ins, and dives going, baby! But don't worry, if you think that's incredibly stupid, they recently added a way to watch these shows on VHS later, but that was done after I recorded this video. I am getting a bit ahead of myself here though, so let me lay out my general early game goals to help get you into my mindset. Goal number 1, find a watch. Telling time is important. Goal number 2, find a working car so I can Tokyo drift around every corner. Goal number 3, find a temporary safe house and start clearing the area of zombies. Goal number 4, gather sheets and curtains to cover all of said house's windows from prying eyes. And goal number 5, start biding my time by collecting supplies I'll need in the future, like an axe, a generator, skill books, etc. I then store said items in the trunk of my vehicle. Now you might be asking yourself, why did you call this a temporary safe house? Why did you say you're biding your time? Why are you storing all of the supplies in your car? Well, that's because around day 7 of your journey, you get what's known as the helicopter event. What's the helicopter event? Well, some asshole in the army spots you and decides to follow you around in his incredibly loud helicopter for an extended period of time while attracting every single zombie for hundreds of miles to your exact location. What a prick. The best way to handle this scenario is to channel your inner Dominic Toretto and hop into your bug-out vehicle so you can just never take your foot off the gas until Army Man gets bored and leaves you and your family alone. If you got in the car quick enough, you can probably return to your temporary safe house and make it your permanent safe house once the event is over. But if you took a while and fumbled with your keys like a big dumb idiot, that place might be overrun and out of your ability to retake from the dead this early in the game. Luckily, I'm the fastest man alive and absolutely fucking nailed it first try, so I went back to my neighborhood and settled down in the house with the prettiest flowers. Now that I've chosen this as a more permanent location, it's time to start building a fortress. The first thing to do is board up your windows with some nails and planks. You're gonna have to cut down a bunch of trees, but be careful. There's often zombies hiding in the woods, the sneaky little devils. So as you approach the tree line, you gotta start absolutely screaming to draw out any lurkers. Once your windows are covered, it's time to start making escape routes. Head to the second floor of your base if you have one, and start crafting sheet ropes to have multiple angles to flee from if you get caught up in a horde. At this stage, you're honestly pretty safe for the short term, especially if you've kept up with clearing out the neighborhood. However, with my infinite luck, the water got shut off incredibly early this run, which means I had to scramble around and gather enough pots and pans to catch some rainwater in order to not die of thirst. It's at this stage of the game that the stress really starts to get to me, so I like to take the time to start decorating my house with anything I find that sparks joy. I did almost die several times during this art caper of mine, but never mind that. Unimportant details. Once my morale is back up in full swing, I finish my Fortress of Solitude by doing a little more light deforestation and fence in my backyard. Ah, yes. Bellissimo. You may remember that a few minutes ago, when my big dumb ugly face was still on screen, I mentioned you eventually have to start considering sustainability. And my friends, that time has come. The first thing I do is upgrade the dumbass pots and pans scenario we have going by building full-on rain collector barrels to cover the water supply. However, when it comes to food, I've been incredibly unlucky so far and haven't found a single shovel or pack of seeds to start a farm, so I decided to throw caution to the wind once again and go on a run to find some. I did nearly die again several times during this mission, and I did encounter several stupidly big hordes that I made harrowing escapes from, but it paid off. Here I am planting the fruits of my labor in the backyard, evenly spaced out so as to avoid disease wreaking havoc on my newfound riches. Taking a step back, things are looking pretty good. I want to say this base is complete, but it just still feels like it's missing something. Oh, I know. Now we're cooking with gas. We have a badass base that I feel safe in. We have food, water, and medical supplies for the future. And it's time for the game to open up again, just like I told you it would. What do I want to do with the rest of my character's life? I don't know, but I do my best thinking while I'm driving in real life. Let's take this baby for a spin. God damn it.